Moving on to Pluto and Scorpio in the 8th house with transcription at 34 minutes and 57 seconds. Pluto and Scorpio in the 8th house. Now understand that Pluto's operating at its absolute fullest power here, its fullest power. And this is because, like we saw in that astrological cheat sheet, each one of these houses is actually representative of a specific sign. And Scorpio is 8th house and Pluto rules Scorpio. So if you have Pluto and Scorpio in your 8th house, then you're getting the full maximum power of that planet in that aspect at the time of your birth. So this is going to be a very powerful placement. So continuing on at 35 minutes and 7 seconds. Honestly, this is the most powerful Pluto placement of all, period. The most powerful Pluto and Scorpio in the 8th house. I've only come across this maybe once, I think. Once or twice I've come across this placement. And I really have to take time out to talk to clients that had this, because you guys have experienced the most trauma of all, okay? So this placement can be sexual abuse for sure. It could be all types of abuse, physical abuse, mental, emotional, all of that. But somebody that is deeply spiritual, somebody that is very deep and very spiritual, very spiritually connected usually. People that have Pluto and Scorpio in the 8th house are almost always extremely spiritual people. And your transformation has to do with your blending with other people, your emotional bonds with other people. So usually these people, your emotional bonds are extremely deep, especially through sex. Pluto and Scorpio in the 8th house, you need to watch who you have sex with. Because even the whole Pluto and Scorpio generation, she says here, all of us who have sex, who you have sex with bonds you to that person deeper than it does other people. And this is what Scorpio energy needs to understand, period, is that sex binds you to people on a deeper level than others that don't have those Scorpio placements. So you can have a hypnotizing effect on people, like you're just powerful as hell. Like I just can't even really break this placement down like that, because for one, it's super esoteric. 2, it's extremely occult, okay? Extremely occult. Also, if you have this placement, you're somebody that loves the occult, okay? Loves uncovering secrets, but you also have a lot of secrets yourself. And most likely you don't talk about your traumas. You don't talk about it unless you really trust someone. But you guys can also have trust issues, deep trust issues with Pluto and Scorpio in the 8th. But if you're able to transmute and transform all of that, I swear you will be one of the most powerful people on this earth if you know how to harness that energy correctly. So here I also have a note about Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology, there's this concept called the Mongol dosha. And they look at the placements that have to do with Mars and that sex energy and all of this that we're talking about. So it's kind of representative here with the 8th house, because the 8th house, if we look at this chart, the affirmation is I circulate shared resources, how we connect with others in relation to sex, how we relate to the death, like literal death process, and letting go and regenerating our lives and ourselves and other people's money. This is like some interesting, it jumps around because it has to do with so much. It's about really breaking apart and coming back together in general, this whole house, the 8th house, as it pertains to anything that's deep. So jumping over to this other chart here, I believe there's a good example with this one here. Partners, values, taxes, loans, banks, merging with another. So that's the sex relationships, transformations, inheritance, renewal, death energy, and sex. All of these things, the 8th house is really actually, it doesn't show it so much in here. See if this one shows. It has to do with all things in the occult, and like she was saying, I'm going the wrong way. I'm so sorry. This is gonna make you seasick, probably. This one shows intense, instinctual, sexual, secretive. Yeah, anything that people are like embarrassed to talk about, all that stuff, like the skeletons in the closet, this house really primarily rules that stuff, because it's where you have to go deep in order to uncover that stuff, the stuff that's taboo. And when in Vedic astrology, it went so deep with these people that have certain placements in the house, like the 8th house, for example, or the 7th house, anything that has to do with relationships and marriage, or things that you do in your inner world. If you had this scorpionic, or sorry, this Mars placement, they called it a Mongol dosha, and they would not arrange you in a partnership. If you're a female, they wouldn't arrange you in a marriage with a man. They would completely rule you out, because they would say that you have a heightened potential for needing a lot of sex, or being very just promiscuous in general, having a lot of an insatiable desire for things, that obsessive nature that they said a man could not fulfill. So you would be unloyal to, and things like that. But this, or, you know, superstitious things like your partner's going to die early, all this crazy stuff. Sorry if that's what you practice, but they're talking about modernizing astrology because of the misunderstanding of what those placements actually were, and automatically categorizing someone or writing them off based on this trait, this attribute. And what they found, and what they do more so in current or modern astrology with these people, is they don't not place you with another Mongolic person, as they call you. They would place you with another Mongolic person, because that intensity can be matched. So when you're looking at the matching, and like you see with traditional astrology, matchmaking and stupid stuff where they only look at the sun sign, where we have all of this other stuff going on. This is just a huge example right here with your Pluto placement. A person that is considered Mongolic is also quick to anger, because they have a lot of passion. Like she talks about that identity, that energy of being very intense, very deep, and very possessive. Like there's certain signs that can handle that energy a little bit better. So like you said with the Taurus also has that possessive nature. So they kind of like it when a partner has a little bit of a equal desire to express that need or that passion or that desire for you, where others would be like, whoa, that's way too much. So they learned that these placements where you put two Mongolic people together, they can handle that, where they have like conversations that are very intense or heightened, where another person, maybe one of the water signs, maybe like a Cancer, might be like, oh, that's too, like they're hurt or offended or sensitive to it. They can communicate. And also the Mongolic placement, because there's that sex aspect, they would be the ones that are known to get really mad and pissed off and then rip each other's clothes off, because that's like, it goes hand in hand. You go deep, you're passionate, and then you have sex. So it's like, whereas another person would be like, you pissed me off so much, don't you dare come near me. Like, no. So it's interesting here when you look at the whole astrological blueprint and understanding these placements, where some of these things, someone might think, oh no, I have this, and it's just this terrible thing. You might just not be placed with, or understanding yourself adequately to place yourself with the right kind of partners, or the right understanding of your nature, your body nature, and your carnal desires. Whereas you might think that you have some sort of like something wrong with you, where there's like certain things, just like the 5th house, where there's like a tendency toward addiction, a tendency toward gambling with your life. You just have to understand that, and understand what your purpose in having that placement might be, to go through the death and rebirth, to come out the other side, and then speak to the world how we can evolve that attribute, or how we can better partner with someone and understand their makeup. This is their blueprint, the blueprint of the soul. So that was a far off tangent, but I just thought that was interesting to understand, because it has a lot to do with Mars, and it has a lot to do with Pluto and that energy, when the old version of arranged marriages and matchmaking had to do with that, where people were just written off based on some of these traits. But really what we're seeing here is there's actually a bigger picture. And this is something that we can also in our generation bring forward and unearth by helping people better understand themselves and their chart